Time for another round of the Thought Project, just so you know. And it's a Rickroller. Get permanent. Back to life. 1990.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. After all commitments, what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're gonna play it.
What do you think?
Ask me how
Turn
I'm
it up. There you go.
feeling. Don't
I
tell
don't know.
me you're too
This is a Rickroll, right?
never gonna give
Just
you
one time.
up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye.
And usually, so they find the same on the lyrics. And
Hurt you. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you.
what famous movie was that using the soundtrack of? It was the soundtrack to Pretty Woman, which was not originally a comedy. It was actually written as a tragedy. In the end, the original version, she has to go back to her life as a prostitute. And the whole ending with him like standing up to his business partners and, taking care of her and then being married and all that just never happens. And there are actually a lot of comic routines around that. Back in that time period, I'll never forget that were kind of mean, but really funny, just, with men doing impressions of Richard Gere and women dressed up as Julia Roberts with the Richard Gere character saying, "Time to go, honey." So I'm not really sure the film, it was depicted as almost an ad for prostitution. I'm not really sure it was. That did not look like a good life. She was a woman dependent on a guy to save her, and she wore the high boots and the pink and the black, and it just sounded like a really terrible life. And then even when she found a guy, we don't really know from looking at it as a romantic comedy or even a romantic film if she even really liked him or if it was just a way out. It's horrible, actually, as a film. I never walked out of that film as a kid and thought, wow, I should go be a prostitute. I thought, those are some really cute black boots. I may want to own a pair like that one day, but that's about it. And I do own boots like that, actually. I wore them all over the place in DC. So did a lot of other women. In fact, women wear that type of boot all the time for shows and stuff and performing and form events and just fun. So anyways, let's get to the topics today. We're going to go through, there was some news from the DOJ yesterday that was pretty big, really big. And then there was also the Westminster Dog Show results, some fast facts on what's happening here with the show. And we got a few interesting anniversaries, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff with the coronation that happened for the king last week in England. We'll touch on that very briefly. We're not going to talk about that for a long time. So the big thing was that yesterday the U.S. Department of Justice announced that they had this huge breakthrough and they shut down a malicious malware from the F.S.B. Well, what is the F.S.B? The F.S.B is a modern version of the K.G.B. from Russia, which was rebanded after the fall of the Soviet Union. Because as I explained in previous episodes, I've talked about this, and I hope you've talked about it with some of your friends and people you confide in, but the reality is that the KGB still exists today, and it was rebranded by the Russian government as the FSB. It's the exact same thing. And there are people who are still active KGB members, who are now we call it FSB here in the United States. So whether Putin is still leader of Russia or not, you have to remember that it still exists. Please don't ever forget it. I'm not trying to lecture you. I want you to be aware of how life really works and be firmly grounded in reality today in the U.S. or wherever you live in the world. Please don't ever forget that it still exists. So even with Putin having his problems, the U.S. government still had to go through some pretty strong, long links. Because I knew about this malware back as far as 20 years ago, and I reported it when I came out to D.C. And it took years of fights and arguments. There were so many people that turned out to be linked to the KGB in the D.C. area that had to be taken down in both the public and private sector. And what the malware did was, first of all, it attacked U.S. agencies and stole information. It attacked private citizens. I've definitely been attacked by it. It had my systems attacked and lost material. So part of the reason people were able to steal from me for material was because of malware. And the number of projects that were stolen from me was crazy. Now, the U.S. government, the Department of Justice actually did, and also massive financial losses and threats. The U.S. government is claiming there was no financial assault or abuse related to that system. I would disagree. I most definitely was somebody who went through physical assaults because I was pretty good at working around the system. I know a little bit about computers and blocking it, and so do a lot of people. Most average Americans are computer savvy and literate enough to try to block a system like that, and so are people in other countries. But this was a situation where, the Russians would sometimes use that in tandem with assault and physical attacks. So please remember that, because it really did, and at times would use it to obtain information about programs the U.S. had, and then use those and run those remotely. It's scary stuff. So it's a big deal that that system was finally disabled. What bothers me is that I knew other people running it years ago turned him in and told the U.S. government that he was saying that he would help shut it down. But he wanted to get to a certain pay level. There was a whole bunch of people involved that were all just saying, well, we know Putin's going to go down, but we just want to make money for the next 20 years. And you all just have to pay us in order to get shut down. I don't think so. No, I think you're all going to have to give up your money that you've stolen all these years for being KGB and working for Russia and living in the U.S. and messing with the rest of our lives. Get real. Some of you really need to get tied down to reality because the rest of us are not having it. So here's the thing. The program the U.S. used to shut it down was called Perseus. It's called Perseus. Obviously, once you use a system like that and make it, anyone else could sort of look at it and unmake it. So it had a very specific use. Whether or not it would function again to stop another completely different system, who knows? But I would hope that the U.S. government spent a fair amount of time studying this system so that they couldn't create another, or that another person couldn't mimic it. And it's called snake malware. And I feel like for me, it's just this huge, it's like this great moment and triumph. And at the same time, there's this feeling of, this took so long. And so much money has been gone out of people's lives. I'm not the only person who's been affected by it. So it's a great triumph. And at the same time, it's very frustrating because it just means to an end of a certain set of behaviors for those of us who've been affected by it. It doesn't necessarily mean a restoration of our lives or what we lost. So I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not going to say anything else about it. But I know that for a lot of people, it's that restoration of their financial lives and all that goes with that. Because everything goes off of economics. Everything. Everything in the world flows around economics. Don't ever kid yourself about it, please. Yesterday, May 9th, was a big day. Buddy Holly, a petite basset, He's a petite basset Griffon Verdine, won the 147th Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show here in the U.S. And that's a breed that's never won before. So it's a really big deal. And it's a French rabbit hound that is known for being vivacious, fond, and independent at the same time. It's a really cute dog. You should go look at pictures of it. It's just the cutest little hound ever. Basset hounds have that kind of sad dog face. This dog really does have a cute, happy look with this sort of springy, long fur. It's just really, really cute. I can totally see why it won. It's just the cutest little thing. Just gorgeous, I love happy dogs. I just love them. So, fast facts. Yesterday, May 9th, 2013, so back 10 years ago, was that Solange Knowles actually famously beat up Jay-Z while her sister Beyonce looked on in an elevator. I'm sure most people remember the footage because Beyonce was wearing an orange dress and Solange, there's this picture of Beyonce and Solange coming out of the elevator after, and Jay-Z's following. He looks kind of discombobulated. And I just will tell you, even back when I was living in the DC area and ever since then, I've never really run into anybody who ever thought they didn't understand why that went down. There was a lot of publicity at the time on Beyonce and Jay-Z having all kinds of marriage problems. I don't think anybody was ever surprised that there was an issue there. But where that came from in Solange, I'd never seen a history anywhere of her, nothing ever publicized, at least, of her being that way to anyone. So it's a really interesting story in the sense that we almost look at it like there's Cinco de Mayo on Friday, and then there's like, Nuevo de Mayo on Tuesday yesterday with the anniversary of Solange Knowles beating up Jay-Z. Which I'm starting to wonder if a lot of people really wanted that to happen. With the way people have talked about it. Because I never really saw a fallout from it. So, and now let's talk about this channel. This channel here is up to 49.3 unique viewers. So their returning viewers are almost 500 of you now. And that's since November. And traffic is up 285% over the past 28 days. So thank you for that. And we're looking at 24, I can't even say it, I can't believe it. 24.5 thousand impressions across the internet. So it's getting out there. My click rate has gone up in the past week by 1%. Like I'd say actually is in a 5-day period increased 1%, which is pretty high. And I'm still working on refining the show and what else to do with it, as long as, I can also focus on the rest of my life, because I have a life to live and things to do. Sorry. And let's talk about one last thing here that I want to discuss with you. And that's just because this is going to be a really short, quick show today. We're not going to dwell on all this stuff for a long time. And I'm going to sing for you too. So, and one last thing. I've been busy with my own life and what I do and focusing on myself for a real long time. I still am. But I did take some time to look at some tapes and interviews of Meghan Markle, because people have been complaining so much about her and her attitude and the way she talks to people, and are just really fed up with her. And a lot of it I thought was just that it's fun. They think it's fun to make fun of her because of her behavior. But then I took enough time to look at it all, and just conversations I've had in the past. People really are frustrated with her and her attitude and the way she talks to them. And I saw people were talking about just dissecting the interviews, because don't forget, I actually do have a full certification in public relations from UVA. And that's a 2 to 3 year program. I studied with some of the best professors. I took classes from a man named, we call him Professor Swanson, but when he died, he was right up in the Washington Post when it was still like the big deal Washington Post. And he actually had handled the PR and crisis communications around the Ebola and escaped monkey incident in Northern Virginia years ago. That's a really famous story people never forget. And there are no other practitioners of the program that were pretty big deals. So I'm just saying that for you because, it wasn't an easy program. My work in public relations is very serious. And when I look at Meghan Markle, what I'm seeing is a serious issue with a toxic attitude. And what I mean is, if you take apart her facial expressions and her behaviors, it's really obvious that she likes making people mad. She called the royal family, she said she didn't realize that they had global implications. Well, how do you not know that the royal family of England has global connections and implications? Because you could call her stupid, but that would probably be incorrect. She's clearly somebody who's not entirely stupid, but may act stupid on purpose to inspire your ire or anger to get a response, which goes with toxic personality disorders. Here's the thing. Why did Harry pick her? And people have said, this woman, her mother's very lovely. Her mother does yoga and seems to be a nurturer and gives back. And my response is, well, why didn't Harry marry her mom? Maybe he should have married Meghan Markle's mom. She's this great yoga practitioner and a nurturer. That might have been a better fit. Because this is, it might be a fit for Harry, but I don't think it's a really big fit for the family. And here's the thing. You have to remember that Meghan Markle, I'm at a loss as to what her exact job is. Because as far as I know, she went she was homecoming queen in high school. And she's an actress, but all her acting roles were really limited. And so she's basically someone that kind of models, but she has none of the other attributes that you expect out of professional models, which is the poise, the good behavior, the ability to interact with dignitaries, the ability to dress properly, and to not act disaffected. So, and I can say that because I did influencing and still do it. And it has a certain degree of, you have to have a certain aplomb and consideration for events and people, and she's clearly from this Hollywood set, and the people she's just to line herself up with in the network in Hollywood are not people that have that, and have been tied to some serious terrorist attacks and international ones. So what I'm trying to understand is exactly what she does, because she doesn't appear to have any technical skills, unless she does have technical skills, like maybe she's one of these grand hackers or something. And there's a lot of women that could have had her position as far as being an attractive woman, and would have done it better because they would have been able to interact properly and dress properly and speak properly. I can totally understand why people are getting angry, because they're watching these facial expressions and attitudes and statements that are meant to inflame them. So that's what's going on there. And for that, I have tried to talk to people about being a little more calm, and I just don't think you're going to get anyone to calm down, because it's just too easy for them to make fun of her. And then it's also just too easy for them to get mad at her. Because the rest of us, work and have had to do hard labor in our lives. I spent the pandemic working in home health and took care of sick older people, and I also drove Lyft when I lived in the DC area during the shutdown. I don't think Meghan Markle was doing anything like that during the pandemic, and I don't think I would believe it if she claimed to have done something now, because it would be too little too late. I think the royal family did the right thing by not having her at the coronation, if she even wanted to attend. She's clearly gone off to Hollywood, back to her network, and whatever that network actually does remains to be seen, because they appear to be in a lot of fights with a whole lot of people, and blaming unions and talking about other world governments are going to come in and do work for them if we aren't, and if the U.S. government doesn't provide the workers, somebody else, well, I don't think they're going to. I don't think these other world governments are going to pony up the workers, because there has to be payments made for actual work and employment. There has to be actual employment contracts, so. And the other problem is that there's a couple people in that network that are KGB, F.S.B. today that benefited from that system, that malware, that snake malware from Russia, to get their projects done. So I don't know. I think we're going to see exactly what I've been talking about start to come into play. I think it's already happening. And you know what I'm talking about if you've been following the whole series. So thank you for staying with it, because it builds on itself. I'm not going to spoon feed every part to you. You actually have to watch the episodes. So to say that about her, I'm just at a loss as to what it is that she exactly does. And I've named all those reasons why. So if you like her, you're a fan of her, great. Hope you enjoy her. But this is not good. And there's been 2 different men that were named as Russian assets who are fairly dangerous that had openly talked about trying to kill off the King of England. He's now the King of England, Prince Charles, and then Queen Camilla, and also talked about trying to kill Prince William and Kate and the children in order to try to get Harry on the throne. And that would then put Meghan Markle up on the throne as well. That's probably the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. And I'd love to say there was no possibility of it, but unfortunately those 2 men are both actually pretty dangerous and have been reported multiple times. I think they're still large. So that's just something you gotta think about. Sorry. Gotta deal with reality. And now I'm going to sing Adele's Go Easy on Me. That was a song I was actually, I hate to say it, but it's another one I wrote the lyrics to and didn't get paid for and didn't get credit on. And I love singing it. Unfortunately, when you hear me singing, you're going to realize it does sound like me. So I have no idea if Adele can sing or not. I just know there's a whole bunch of people who got material because of some of this malware and networks and all of it, that the way it worked together. And there was a lot of us that got taken advantage of and didn't get paid for our work for years. And I didn't get to go to medical school, and I couldn't go to nursing school because of all this, and it's been ridiculous. And, in the entertainment industry, I wasn't really a part of it either because I didn't get paid. I did my influencing on my blog. Blog was up to 6,000 its month, but I had problems with that being attacked too. And the attacks for me came in person as well. U.S. government worked really hard to protect me and keep me safe, because I had big men coming over my home that were Russian, worked for the Russian government, thought they could beat me up. On top of the malware issues. So it's been nasty. I mean, that was 10 years ago, so that was put into, but it's gone for a long time. The threats are always out there. So, people, you just gotta stay savvy, stay really grounded and aware at all times. And, take care of yourself and be very grounded. Be very grounded, every day. So, and try to have fun. That's why I do the dancing at the beginning and then I sing at the end, because it's, you gotta get through things sometimes. You gotta dance a little bit, you gotta sing a little bit, you gotta exercise a little bit. Please don't forget to vote for me again for the Hers magazine cover for Miss Health and Fitness, okay? Voting still goes on through tomorrow, and I will announce the results later this week for people that are in my networks, and then also I'll bring it up in the next show so you can see it, okay? I'll let you know. I'm in the top 10 right now, so that sounds pretty good to me, right? Nothing like being a semi-finalist. We're going to do it with the karaoke today. Give you some background. There ain't no gold in this river that I've been washing my hands in forever. I know there's hope in these waters, but I can't bring myself to swim when I am drowning in the silence. Baby, let me in. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. Had no time to choose what I chose to do, so go easy on me. There ain't no room for things to change when we are both so deeply stuck in our ways. You can't deny how hard I have tried. I changed who I was to put you both first, but now I give up. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. Had no time to choose what I chose to do, so go easy on me. And good intentions and the highest hopes, but I know right now it probably doesn't even show. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, I didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. Had no time to choose what I chose to do, so go easy on me. And that's all today for the Thought Project. Just so you know, please don't forget to vote for me for the HERS Miss Health and Fitness competition. And as I told a friend recently, I've let go of the outcome. I'm just happy to be in it, happy that I'm placing, and happy to do it all as I pursue all my different projects. And I hope you all are too. And I hope you're enjoying the Thought Project, just so you know. Have a good one.